Have you ever wondered why you can't get anything done? Have you ever been baffled by the fact that no matter how much you plan and no matter how often you set aside days to work, that when the time comes to actually do it, that something always happens that stops you from doing the thing that you had planned to do? Sometimes it can feel as though there are forces at work that are determined to thwart every attempt you make to change your circumstances. Part of that is because of Newton's third law of motion, that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. That is, that any time you try to push in one direction, there will always be something else that's determined to push back from another. Another part of that is that it's easy to maintain the status quo. It's easier to stay in the rut that you're in. In other words, it's easy to be average. As long as you're content to be like everyone else, then no one and nothing will try to stop you. But when you try to be awesome, then that's where you'll meet with resistance that you didn't know was there. That's where the unseen forces will appear to put you back into your average place. The Japanese have a saying about knocking down the proud nail. The word proud in this context means that it stands out. If you try to stand out from what's normal, what's average, then something will be there to pound you down to where everyone else is so that no one will notice you. But there's another reason why you can't get anything done, and that is that it's a lot easier to plan than it is to execute. It's easier to dream about what you will do, future tense, than it is to do it, present tense. Why is that? Well, for one thing, it's because your imagination is so powerful. If you've ever read a novel or watched a movie, then you know how true that is. The best ones pull you into the story. They seem real, except they're not. One of the best examples of this is the Star Wars series. Star Trek is another one. Or how about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? They all feel so real. But when was the last time you walked through the back of your closet into another world? There's a second reason why planning is easier than implementation, and that is that you haven't put it to the test. It's just a theory. It looks good on paper. Mike Tyson once said that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. This illustration is a bit graphic, but it makes the point. All serious boxers have a plan, but when they get punched where they least expect to, that's when they find out if their plan will work or not. They can imagine winning every fight by knockout and see themselves weighed down with championship belts. But until they step into the ring, it's all pretend. There's a third reason why you can't do the things that you plan to do, and that is that your imagination adds a certain romance to your plans. That is, what you imagine will happen won't happen even if everything goes according to plan. And that's because so many other things are affected. The marketer, for example, asks, what would you do if you had the time to do what you had planned to do? Or how would you feel if you always accomplished everything on your to-do list? Or what could you do with your family if you completed your work early? Those questions are designed to transport your emotions into another world. And that's exciting to think about. But what happens? When the perfect day arrives and you have the time to accomplish everything, something still holds you back. Often you find that there's something else that you would rather do. Why is that? It's because in your dreams, you feel the result. You feel the emotion that comes with doing what you planned, but without actually doing the work. In your mind, you separate the two. Instead of seeing the result you desire as the end of a process, you view it in isolation from the activities that are necessary to get you there. You allow yourself to experience the emotion of completion in the absence of the effort that is normally required for it to happen. And when you do that, you drift off task. That's because you've convinced yourself that the result will occur no matter what you do or don't do. Did you get that? When you separate the activities that are necessary to get the result that you want from the emotion of doing so, then in your mind, you're telling yourself that because you feel that emotion, that no matter what you do, you'll still get that result. It's when the end of the day rolls around that it really hits. Suddenly, you're snapped out of your dream world, and that's why you get to the end of a day without accomplishing what you set out to do. How do you overcome this problem? The answer is quite simple, but it's not to join the two together. Does that surprise you? Of course, that's the obvious answer, to think about the process rather than the result. And you know, if you can do that, you'll probably get more done. But here's the thing. If that was a good idea, then you'd be doing it already, right? So that approach is unlikely to work for you. When you've developed the habit of dreaming of the result and then feeling the positive emotions that come from it as well, then it'll make you averse to the activity that goes with it. So instead of thinking about the work, when you allow yourself to feel the emotion, the tendency is to put the idea of work that's required out of your mind. What should you do? If the answer isn't to think about the task rather than the emotion that comes with completing it, and if it's not to allow yourself to feel the emotion when you do complete it, then what is the right answer? The right answer is to think only about the activities that you need to do. You know that if you do what's required, then the result will follow. And you know that if you dwell on the outcome, then you won't do the work. So instead of thinking about the result, focus on the tasks. When you focus on doing what you plan to do, then you'll get the work done. And it really doesn't matter if you feel the emotion as a result or not. Sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. But the goal isn't the emotional experience. It's to get the work done. And that means that you have to concentrate on how to do that, because when you do, the rest will take care of itself. And that means that you have to find enjoyment in those things. There is no work, whether you're employed or self-employed, living the dream or something else, that is 100% enjoyable in and of itself all the time. Every job, every business has things in it that you'd rather not do. And that's one reason why things get outsourced or delegated. You hand off to someone else the things that you don't like to do or don't like as much. You let someone who loves what bores you do those things. It's possible that you don't have the luxury to do that, and so you have to do the boring things regardless. Most small businesses start that way, and so you're experiencing nothing new. Now, when you moan inwardly or outwardly about having to do something that you'd rather not do, then it's easy to distract yourself, to make some coffee or to do the dishes or to do anything else other than what you know you need to do. The problem with that is that when you do that, you remind your brain how distasteful that activity is. And so the next time that the item shows up on your list of things to do, you put it off again. Except that this time it's easier to postpone it than it was the last time. Unless you can outsource it, there are only two ways that you'll get it done. One is to grit your teeth and just do it. The other, and more pleasant way, is to find enjoyment in doing it, to figure out a way to teach your brain to like what you're doing. If you do that, then you'll joyfully anticipate the opportunity to do it the next time. Research has shown repeatedly that you increase your own motivation by simply doing the thing that you know needs to be done. It becomes a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. If you learn to like what you do, then you'll want to do more of it. And guess what? When you do the things that you've put off in the past, then you'll get the results that you've dreamed about. If you can't get anything done, then chances are that it's due in part to the fact that you're allowing yourself to feel the emotions that come as a result of doing it without actually doing anything. If you learned something from this video, then please like it and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to learn more ways to hack your life or business by following psychological principles, then sign up for my ebook, The Importance of Why. The link is in the description. I'm Dr. Bruce Hoag.